Hello everyone, welcome to Saturday afternoon in Misano with the Ferrari Challenge Europe and qualifying 2 about to get underway for round 2. It's curious, it's different. It's Misano and we're doing things differently here for a very good reason. We've got qualifying sessions coming up this afternoon, qualifying 2. Now these qualifying sessions are setting the grid for the races to come tomorrow. It is round 2 of our challenge for 2025 with Hockenheim, Brno, Valencia, Barcelona, Spa, Francorchamps and Mugello all in prospect between now and the end of October. It's a thrilling, packed calendar of awesome action to come from the Ferrari Challenge. And here we are then in Misano. We're on the Adriatic coast with the Misano World Circuit Marco Simoncelli, 4.236 kilometers. Now, there are 16 turns, 6 of them left, 10 of them right. We're about an hour and a half from Bologna, maybe 2.25 from Florence. And this track was designed in 1969. And despite it being here for that period of time, still the drivers find it very difficult to keep it between the white lines. Track limits really played something of an issue in qualifying this morning. It's 18 degrees at the moment. Track temperature, though, is 31 degrees. The sun was out this morning. It's beginning to dip a bit, the sun. And this is very much a holiday destination here in Italy on the Adriatic coast. And bringing an all-together festive holiday flavor to the whole thing will be our Shell-Am drivers who will be going out for their second qualifying. The likes of Paolo Scudieri, Boris Gideon, Andreas Koenig, Henrik Kamstrup, Shintaro Akatsu, Louis Peruskia, Guy Favet, Charles Chan, as well as Pino Frascaro, Alvaro Ramos, Fritz Muller, Germana Toniella, Andrea Levy, Sven Schirmer, and Alexei Komarov. And adding to the excitement that we can bring you over the next 30 minutes or so, alongside me is my German broadcast colleague, ever present and ever welcome, Nico Spalek. Very odd for us to get 2 qualifying sessions in the same day.
Yeah, absolutely. It changes a few things like strategy in qualifying. We generally have this when we have the Ferrari racing days where there is so many activities on the track over the weekend that we have to outsource qualifying to the Friday. But we get the extra of having the evening races at the end of today, which is really, really unusual. But hey, we got a full day of Ferrari racing, the challenge on track for near on 8 hours from 9 in the morning to 9 in the evening. So not much we can complain about. Fritz Müller is getting final advice as we take a look at Andrea Levy, who had a good qualifying this morning.
Yes.
Finished P3 in Shell-Am qualifying at around 9 a.m. Was a little bit cooler back then. Now, as you said, the sun is not out at full force, but it's certainly dry and it's certainly warm out there. So this will be challenging for the drivers, even during a 30-minute qualifying session. It'll be quite warm in those cockpits.
Sven Schirmer was very good in qualifying. Big shout out to his driver coach, Andrea Gagliardini, who shares the coaching duties with Max Blancardi. Of course, Max Blancardi is in Daytona this weekend because the Ferrari Challenge, which stretches around the world, they're racing in North America this weekend. So Andrea Gagliardini is looking after Sven Schirmer, and he did a jolly good job with his driver in qualifying 1 today, Nico.
Left nothing on the table because Sven Schirmer put it on pole for the race this evening, which again we have had qualifying this morning, which sets the grid for the races today. And the qualifying sessions that we will see now is going to set the grids for tomorrow's races. So tomorrow morning until midday we will have 3 races, and Copa Shell-Am will be the first of those. So what happens in this quali session determines the grid for tomorrow. There is Nana, Germana Toniella,
who's being advised by another very, very talented driver, which is Zeus Grimpias, who, of course, won this very category last year in terms of championship and has been elevated to the Shell Championship and now reliant upon his wife to contest things in Shell-Am this year, which, interestingly, the original plan last year, Nico, was for Germana and Zeus to share the car and for them to, you know, have the odd race here and there. And actually, once Zeus had taken to the track and his natural aptitude to motor racing was discovered, Germano didn't get a look in.
No.
Zoy stayed with it the whole season. Shintaro Gatsu, super driver who really is enthused, and so too is Boris Gideon, who had a brilliant time in Monza. Dare I say it, Nicker's something completely different. Dare I say it, Boris has found it a little more tricky here at Misano than he did in Monza.
Yeah, it's fair. And I mean, if finding it very tricky results in a P4, I think you're in a fairly decent place. But yeah, absolutely. He was very dominant, except for one fastest lap. He secured every single point he could back in Monza. Not the case in qualifying one, but he certainly has the pace, he has the confidence. Will he be able to better his P4? In about 30 minutes or so, we will be smarter and wiser about that. There again is Andrea Levy, who, as we said, P3 in Quali 1, so just edged Boris Gideon by 1 place. He also will hope to be on the front row for the race tomorrow. Sven Schirmer was P1, who finished in P2 in that qualifying session. It was... drawing a blank myself. Very well done, mister. It was obviously Andreas Koenig, who is returning as well.
Sorry, I couldn't help you there because my mind is always blank.
Andreas.
It was actually coloured blank that time. In fairness, I have had quite a knock during the tiny lunch break that we had, where I decided that I would explore the malleability of a trailer with my head, which was kind of stupid, really, wasn't it?
Happens.
There is Louis Peruskia. And I've gone completely off my tangent now, what I was going to say, but I'm sure it will come back to me. But there you can see the steering controls that are in these Ferrari Challenge cars, which are, I mean, the most extraordinary racing cars. The performance, the technology, the cars are an utter joy for the drivers, and so quick, Nico. We find, and we've been involved in the Ferrari Challenge for a few years now, and somehow haven't been found out and royally fired. But you know, from the F430 through to where we are today in the 296, the evolution of the racing car in the Ferrari Challenge. Just when you think the car cannot be improved any further, oh yes it can. And Ferrari are the same with their road cars, you know. I have the privilege of not driving a Ferrari road car, hint hint. But again, you see it with the technology. Where I have had the privilege is talking to people who are very much involved in the whole design at Ferrari, whether it be racing cars or whether it be road cars. And of course these racing cars are all, you know, come from a kind of a road car background, don't they? And the attention to detail and the design specifics and it's just a joy to be involved with. And as I say, the evolution of those racing cars from when we started with the Ferrari Challenge until now, extraordinary. And these cars are the 296 Ferrari Challenge car is utterly awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you say evolution, and I would have said for many years that would have been the word I would have used myself. I would actually say that 296 is actually more like a revolution because it's brake-by-wire, and it's, I mean, we hear every driver, and obviously they're not supposed to say, oh yeah, it's a decent car. No, I mean, but you can sense how genuine their enthusiasm is and how everybody tells us this is so close to a GT3 car. This is actually, you know, it prepares you for anything that comes in the future so much better than anything that came before.
And that's also true of the Ferrari it's true of the Ferrari Challenge, where, you know, we're watching the Copa Shell Am drivers now qualifying, and I promise you we will get to the timings in a moment, but currently they're just installation laps. You look at the drivers in Trophio Pirelli now. Professional drivers are coming into Ferrari Challenge Trophio Pirelli and using the Ferrari Challenge as a step to the next stage of their racing career. You know, we've got drivers in IndyCar, we've got drivers in all sorts of GT categories around the world. We've got drivers in hypercar. You know, it's just remarkable to see the talent that is now emerging from the Ferrari Challenge.
Yeah, and it just shows that this championship, which I think it's fair to say at the very beginning was more of a gentleman's and not professional championship in the way of the driver level. This has changed over the last 33 years to the extent that it is now more a professional championship than anything else. And now obviously there are differences between the classes, but even the level of competition in Copa Shell, Copa Shell Am is up to the highest standard. So all that aside, almost 6 minutes have ticked off the clock and we have our first times on the timing chart. As we watch Fritz Müller putting it onto P1, we're at 1:38.716. Now, we're still a few seconds actually away from where the best times were. Oh, and there is some screeching. Not sure if that was Fritz Müller. Didn't quite see it on screen there. Had a little bit of a sideways moment going into the chicane, but well, we will find out as Germano Toniella is now leaving the pit lane, entering the fast lane, heading towards the end of the pit line, and will take part in this quali session. There is the 199 car, that is Alexei Komarov. Still on his outlap, not at anything like race pace or qualifying pace.
Henrik Kamstrup just champing at the bit to get out of the box there. Thus far, we've seen, what, 4 drivers? Fritz Müller, Pino Frascaro, Guy Favre and Louis Perusquia set some times, but they have been the only 4 of the 15 cars we have in contention for that pole position today, or for tomorrow, actually.
Yeah. There is again Fritz Müller, again very good first sector, second sector not quite up to the same lofty standards, but now in that stadium section, which really invites you to be aggressive when you've got the perfect grip and levels of adhesion that these Pirelli P0s afford you.
Dare I ask, or dare I say, there are, as Fritz Müller crosses the timing line now, who didn't improve his own personal best time, there are elements of this track which, almost like a magnet attached to the side of your car, wants to draw you outside the track limits. We've only had, what, 1 track limits warning so far. Who did that go to? Pino Frascaro. In earlier sessions today, we had, well, it was a job to keep up with the parish announcements with regards to the lap times that were being deleted, Nico. And we're watching Pino Frascaro right now, and just while we have a moment, enjoy the sounds of these 296 Challenge cars. Pino Frascaro then, and the sound of his 296 Challenge car. And Pino was racing in the 488s last year, Nico. He's come into the 296 Challenge this year, and it has to be said, most drivers have gone from the 488 to the 296, and they have taken to the 296 like the proverbial duck to water. Not every driver has, but Pino is one of those that has taken to it and absolutely loved it.
Yeah, absolutely. This is really, I mean, the car is both challenging and forgiving at the same time, which is actually something that should technically not be possible, but the Maranello product really affords that to the drivers. And you know, driving styles are different, and the car is more suitable to some of those styles than for others, but Pino Frascaro certainly has made his mark on his last time around. The 1:37.861 vaults him to the top of our timing chart. There was Paolo Scudieri with the distinct and familiar dark red and dark blue livery, and there we pick him up again as he crosses the final line and puts the first time onto the timing chart, and actually just finishes his outlap and goes for his first attempt, the 101 car of Paolo Scudieri. Chased and followed by Guy Favre, a Belgian driver who looks like he would like to go past, and indeed does, so that shows you that Paolo is not nearly at race pace yet, and We focus on some of the other drivers who are already going through the paces at a more significant speed. Advice from the pit purge, obviously something that is always helpful and needed for the drivers to get the best out of them. Not necessarily telling the drivers where to position the car on the track in terms of in relation to the turns, but in terms of traffic and other elements that the drivers just can't see and control while they are at the controls and at the steering wheel. It just helps to have the team tell you that, okay, now you can push, or just ease off a little bit and focus on the next lap, because that will give you some more track space to maneuver.
There's a lot of you that I've listened to over the years.
Sorry about that.
Not all of it has been really, really unkind. Actually, what you're saying then makes absolutely perfect sense and describes really, really competently the relationship and the necessity of that relationship and how to get the most out of it. I was talking to this man, Guy Favet, earlier on as he comes into the pit lane now, and I was saying, I've watched you race a lot, Guy, but it just looks like you and this car gel together perfectly, because I'm seeing some of your best driving. And he said, that's exactly how I feel, Dave. And can you believe I'm doing it at beep, beep, beep years of age? A very senior driver. That's all I'm going to say. Respect to him. Friedrich Muller. I was having a conversation with him earlier today, which is when I learned that it's not Friedrich, it's Fritz. Please call me Fritz, Dave. We were having a lovely conversation about motor racing and various people that have had success with Ferrari, including Gerhard Berger, who Fritz knows. And I make no apologies for mentioning that name with the history Gerhard has with Ferrari and the history I have with Gerhard. I worked for him on one occasion, and top man in my opinion, and a very good racing driver. Certainly wears his heart on his sleeve, you know where you stand.
Yeah, absolutely, and certainly someone without whom you couldn't write motorsport history and the history of Ferrari.
That's fair.
Our personal respective histories. As Shintaro Akatsu, you couldn't write the story of this quality session without him, because he's just gone to the top of our timing chart.
Here comes Andreas Koenig. Is he going to change things, Nico? Because he's P10 at the moment, but personal best through Sector 1, better than anyone through Sector 2. Andreas Koenig goes P1, Nico. And Andreas Koenig for Emil Frey Racing with a 1:36.218 at this stage of qualifying, which is nearly halfway through. He has lain something of a gauntlet, dare I say.
Yeah, 1.5 seconds quicker than anybody at this stage. Usually in qualifying 2, we see the drivers use the rubber, the Pirelli P0s from race 1, which this time actually isn't part of the strategy, because they still need those tires for the race later on.
Which I wonder if we will see drivers do less laps in this qualifying session, Nico, to protect the rubber that they've got. What do you think?
Well, usually you would think so, that they would effectively skip the first part or try to minimize the installation part of the session.
Yeah.
But you never know, as Andrea Levy has come back and said, Andreas, it's a very nice time you have there. Let me up that one.
I'm going to have some of that, yeah.
Let me up some of it. However, race control has said, that's a very nice lap time you have, Andrea. You have exceeded the track limit, so let me take that back. So,
oh, this could be one to watch, Nico. Alexei Komarov. I spoke to him a little while ago. Spent a lot of time in meetings and chats, but with Alexei Komarov, I'll tell you what, if Alexei Komarov has got 2 blue sectors, Andreas Koenig has got 2 purple sectors. This is going to run all the way to the end of this session, I suspect, as Andreas Koenig improves still further. Alexei Komarov improves as well. What a qualifying this is going to be, and the musical accompaniment brought to you in association with, I don't know where that's coming from. It's not my phone, I promise you, Nico.
Nope. That is...
Whoa, Henrik Hamstrup just puts in P2. Sorry for my excitement interjection then.
And Paolo Scudieri changes that again, so the times are coming tumbling down. I mean, for the moment, Andreas Koenig has almost put in 1.5 seconds between himself and everybody else.
Look at Germana go. Come on, Nana, then heading towards the timing line from P9. Germana Toniela moves up 3 places, goes to P6. Good quali.
Absolutely, as Charles Chan has put it into P2, which Andrea Levy has now put it back into P2, so the times are really, really improving. However, Andrea Levy, you already know the story. The track limit infraction means that lap time also will probably be disallowed. And we've seen that before today, that drivers who put in lap after lap after lap, and pretty much on almost every occasion, Claudio Garavini, our race director, had something to say about that. And I talked to Christian Birching of the Octane 1260 team, who said, you know, sometimes in the past I wasn't on the same page with race control, which as a team manager you're inevitably bound to be, but he said they are very strict, but they are very fair, and you know, I have no complaints about that.
Christian Birching has said
because you know where you stand, and he's really treating everybody the same, so you don't have to like it, but it's fair.
And this is something that I said earlier on in our broadcast today, and that is, as long as the rules are consistent, and with Claudio Garavini, they are always consistent. You know what you get. And he has been completely consistent throughout the entire sessions that we've seen on track so far. I think, Nico, that's fair. I mean, we've got one driver up to 3 track limits infractions, so I'm not going to embarrass by mentioning names, but we've seen significantly more than that in earlier sessions.
Yeah, absolutely. There you can see Andrea Levy just at the back end of that lap, but for all of that, he still retains his P2 position. So he has one lap that was clean, and that at least is a banker for the remaining 12 minutes and 45 seconds. So let's have a look at who is maybe not quite in position. Shintaro Akatsu, who's already at a podium, is fairly down the order in P11, however, just on his out lap, so aiming to do something about that. Boris Gideon,
Sven Schirmer. They are drivers that we would expect to see higher up the order at this stage in qualifying than they are, I think.
Yeah, but again, 12 minutes and change remaining as Alexei Kombarov is trying to do something about his position at this very moment. He finishes the lap and moves up a few places, up to P6.
If the earlier qualifyings are anything to go by, we've seen great progress, organic progress, little by little, as Ivo Horn, who is team boss at Scuderia Praha, looks on. Yeah, this organic improvement lap after lap, rather than a huge jump straight away. The huge jumps tend to involve a track limits. The more organic progress seems to be cleaner and tidier. Here is Charles Chan. Looks like everything is okay with this. I can't see any observations of track limits. P3 and moving up a place to P2. And Sven Schirmer is on something of a hot lap now, as you can see from the graphics. Here is the very car. Into this final turn then, which you take as fast as you can. Run to the outside as much as track limits will allow you to. We're looking at a 1:34.780. We don't quite get there, but it is more where we would expect to see Sven Schirmer.
Yeah, and for Sven, this was effectively his first very quick lap, so keep your eyes peeled on what happens with Sven the next time around. Boris Gideon, we said it, he was dominant in Monza, was solid, I would say, in qualifying one. Now, P9 is not what he would consider solid. He is going to be on the upward trajectory at the end of this lap and certainly going forward.
So Boris Gideon then crosses the timing line to go P2. His driver coach, Kevin Chechon, is directly opposite us. From our commentary studio, just the other side of the pit lane, Kevin is sitting on the pit wall, just keeping an eye. He looks a cool dude. He's got his sunglasses on, and he is guiding Boris Gideon, doing everything he can to get the best out of his driver, which, of course, is what driver coaches do.
Absolutely. You said that the steady improvement, obviously, there is something to be said about that. We have also seen drivers who were excellent in qualifying go out, install the car, do one quick lap, finish it, go back in. The advantage of that approach is tire longevity for the race, because you just do fewer laps. And so it's kind of like there is pros and cons to all of these approaches. As we see Boris Gideon go on the inside.
Alvaro Ramos doing his level best, I think that was. to get his car out of the way of Boris Gideon and not hamper him in any way. Inevitably, if you have a car in front of you, your focus is on getting past that cleanly, and of course that is not necessarily always the quickest that you can be. But in defense of the driver that is trying to get out of the way, you can't make the car disappear, Nico.
No, absolutely not. And in this occasion, Boris Gideon lost like a second and 3/10 in that sector, so it didn't go unnoticed and it didn't go without consequence. But he can go again, of course. 9 minutes remaining. So for those who are buried down the order and the standings, it's getting late early. Shintaro Katsu is one of them. On the way to an improvement, certainly over P13, but given that he's already had a podium finish and has generally had excellent pace over the season plus that we've seen him, this is not going to be enough by his standards, even though a P6 is certainly way more like it for him.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I love the livery that Shintaro Katsu runs on the car. As Manuela Gosner looks on, she, of course, a Copa Shell driver and a very good Copa Shell driver, as the Emil Frey pit crew take a look at the Andreas Koenig car now. Andreas running a different color scheme on this occasion. There he is, we get in. Big thumbs up from Andreas Koenig. Nico, we were having conversations with him at Monza and also here as well, and big shout out to his family who are here supporting him. Andreas knows he's got it within himself. He knows, and if you've got that self-confidence, Nico, I'm not going to say that's worth a 100th or a 1000th, but it's got to be worth something when you're feeling good about yourself and the relationship you have with this racing car.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's like in any sport and anything in life. If you feel confident about yourself and where you are, if you make a mistake, you'll be confident that that's not going to be something that escalates and troubles you in the future. If you start having doubts about yourself or your relation with the car, if you're not feeling it you make one mistake, you'll already think about the next one. And I think this is where really it helps. It helps you be solid, it helps you be consistent and overcome anything that's not going your way. And you know, it doesn't necessarily have to be a mistake of yours. It can be unfortunate circumstances, traffic, and you feel like, oh, here we go again.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what Andreas Koenig doesn't have, and that just helps. And Carlos Scudieri, he's got so much experience.
Yeah, he has.
He's been a great addition to this championship for a lot of time.
And he's still hugely competitive.
Absolutely, and P6 stays P6, but as you can see from the final sector, he is possibly only building towards
I would agree with that.
For the very front of the grid.
Boris Gideon has come in as well. Now we've got 6 3/4 minutes left. I would say with the position of that car, Nico, with it being reversed back into the garage, as far as he's concerned, he's done everything he can do in this session.
Yeah, or at least with the 7 laps that he did, probably he feels like anything that he can do beyond that is not worth taking more out of the tires. Sven Schirmer feels differently. The first sector not quite there, the second excellent. The third one.
Love that. It's a technical term. We call it a flip-flop camera.
Yeah, and he actually improved to P2. The time on the graphics didn't stop, but he edged Boris Gideon, so he is on the front row provisionally, meaning Boris Gideon defenseless now, virtually, by being in the pits.
Yeah, he's not going to come out again, is he? Right, who's this? Andrea Levy, I believe. So it's Koenig, Gideon, Schirmer. Then it's Chan, Levy, Scudieri, Kamstrup, Akatsu. Ahead of Komarov and Frascaro, they occupy the top 10. That's all changed, as you would expect, as Shintaro Akatsu and Alexei Komarov have a very good time of it out there. This Shell Am category this year, Nico, for 2025 is uber competitive because any one of the 15 drivers that we're watching right now have the ability to put it certainly in the top 3 or 4.
Absolutely, and just my example, Steve Fave, who just had the fastest lap in one of the races last time, was P5 finisher, both races buried down in P13. So, you know, it's minimal things that can be the difference between a front row or a row 2 start and being way off the pace. So it really, really comes down to having the right combination. The team has to find the right setup. The driver has to be one with the car, and traffic and luck sometimes play a role as well.
We're watching Shintaro Akatsu right now, who's currently P5. And Shintaro Akatsu, I mean, the top, I think it is the top 8 drivers are all within a second of each other, which across this track here at Misano is some achievement. Koenig, Schirmer, Gideon, top 3. Shintaro Akatsu at the moment is running P6. And he too comes up against a back-marking car and has to take evasive action through no fault of the other driver. The other driver trying to get out of the way, but I just wonder whether that would have hampered Shintaro Akatsu's efforts still further. I mean, in fairness, he wasn't on an improvement trajectory, Nico.
Yeah, no, not on this occasion. But with 3 minutes, 45 seconds, he is going to try again. There is a replay slow-mo of Shintaro as he goes through the turns. That is the end of the first sector.
Love those replays, super slow-mo replays. And this is Sven Schirmer in the 175 car, driving for Penske Sportwagen in Hamburg. Sector 1, Sector 2, both grey, Nico. I would say that he's not at tip-top race speed right now, or quali speed, I should say.
Yeah, no, but he is still pushing, and I think that he's just building speed.
I think so.
At least one more go at this, 3 minutes remaining, so I think theoretically he will have 2 more chances to improve. Will he exploit that to the maximum? We will find out. He's definitely on the way to attacking on this lap.
Yes, absolutely. And also staying out there and pushing hard. Alexei Komarov. Lovely colour scheme across that 13.6 challenge car. About to complete a lap right now. Alexei Komarov currently P6. And has built himself up to go again as he goes past at a ridiculous speed. Our flip-flop camera then, which really exemplifies the speed of these 296 challenge cars.
A little bit of a sideways moment there for Alexei. He kept it together nicely, but wasn't necessarily the fastest way through there. Sven Schirmer, we talked about him. He is quick. First sector was only like 0.2 and a bit off the pace.
Okay.
In fairness, he's been quicker already in this session, but he's certainly still going for it and trying to find those 0.3 that he would need, but the second sector wasn't quite up to that speed either, so possibly it's decision time effectively for the team. Will you go once more, or do we say, yeah, okay, actually maybe P2 is enough and taking more out of the tires, not necessarily worth the risk. We will find out what they do.
At this moment in time, with 1.5 minutes remaining in the qualifying session, how have track limits impacted the session? We've had 26 laps deleted, Nico, effectively, if my calculations are correct.
Yeah, and we've got some drivers up to 8 track limits now.
Yes, we have.
Which really means that it has hampered their progress. Paolo Scudieri not necessarily one of those. Currently in P9, which is lowly by his standards, simply because his standards are quite high. He is improving, certainly less than half a second off the pace through 2 sectors, so that certainly looks like it could be more than a P9 start. So we will watch Paolo take the final 2 turns and possibly improve up from P9. There was some car ahead of him, but not troubling in terms of traffic. Last few meters for Paolo Scudieri, and lost a lot of time in that final sector in relation to the others. But this is the stadium section with those triple right-handers and the 2 left-handers, where if the grip goes a little bit, that's where you feel it the most, because you just start sliding.
You're right. Just 20 seconds remaining in this qualifying session. I think, Nico, we've got our pole sitter.
Well, you say that.
I do.
And just when you said it, Germano Toniella put in a purple first sector. The second wasn't quite up to that lofty standard. But Germana is definitely going. And so there we pick her up. You can see on the graphics the purple in sector 1. So the track and the driver still out there trying and awarding themselves an opportunity to move up the order as the checkered flag is now out. So who can do what at this very, very late stage of the session? Germana Toniela, P10. Will she move up the order? P8.
Wow.
So definitely an improvement here at the very final gun in this session. We have another look at our timing screen. Is there anybody troubling for a front row start? I don't think so. I think our top three are fairly safe. Andrea Levy is still going. He's the topmost driver who's still out there.
Yep. Well, there is Andrea Koenig with Giacomo Altoe, last year's Ferrari Challenge Trophio Pirelli champion. Andrea's been congratulated. As far as Emil Frey Racing are concerned, Nico, it's done. The job is done. And Stephanie, his wife, and his daughter are there to offer their congratulations as well. He had a tough time of it in Monza. It's a great way to come back here.
Yeah, 100%. And that's cool.
That is a cool look. Cool dude there, Andreas.
And Andreas will start from the front row in the race later today from P2, but he bettered his result for tomorrow's race. Will be on pole.
And weather conditions tomorrow might be different.
Yeah, fair point.
Super slow-mo of our top driver then. Pole position for the Emil Frey Racing driver that is Andreas Koenig. We'll bring you the full and uncomplicated but comprehensive result by way of classification. There it is, Andreas Koenig by a tenth and a half, better than Sven Schirmer, P2, Boris Gideon, P3, then it was Andrea Levy, Shintaro Akatsu, then Henrik Kamstrup and Alexei Komarov with great quality from Germana Toniela, P8. Then it was Charles Chan, Paolo Scudieri, Guy Favre, Fritz Muller, Pino Frascaro, Alvaro Ramos and Louis Perusquia. So there we have it. Qualifying for race 2 for Ferrari Challenge Copa Shell Am is done. From Nicholas Spalek and myself, thank you so much for watching. We've got 2 more qualifying sessions to come today before we get into race action. Bye-bye for now. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Ferrari Challenge Round 2 in Misano. It's qualifying 2 for our Trophio Pirelli and Pirelli AM drivers. It's going to be the Pirelli drivers first that get 20 minutes on track here in Misano. And by dint of this being called qualifying 2, it's because we've already had one qualifying session today, and this is our second session. I'll explain more in just a moment. Meantime, here is the calendar for 2025. We've done Monza, we're here in Misano, then we go to Germany and Hockenheim, then it's the Czech Republic with Brno, before double in Spain, because we go to Valencia and Barcelona, and then it's Spa-Francorchamps and the finale mondiale in Mugello for 2025. What a brilliant calendar. And here is the track in all its 3D glory then. 16 turns, 6 of them left-handers, 10 of them are right-handers, and it's a very different circuit to that we had at Monza. And the drivers really getting the best out of this track. It's so rewarding. When you get it wrong, you tend to get your wrists wrapped with a rod of iron, which is oftentimes delivered by a race control. It's because you've exceeded the track limits. You put 2 wheels within, that's fine. Put 4 wheels outside the track limits, you're going to get your bottoms spanked. Here is the car of the Emil Frey Racing driver, Yasin Ferrati, who will be going out for qualifying in a moment. Yasin is one of those really talented young drivers that has come from an esports and sim background and has made great strides in what we consider on-the-track racing, and he's done it. Felix Herziger doing a great job as well. And alongside me is Nico from Germany. And Nico, I know that you in your professional activities, you get involved in sim racing. And looking at Yasin Ferrati here, isn't it interesting how in years gone by, you know, you perhaps had a career in karting and then single-seaters, and then you made your way in motorsport, having, dare I say, invested quite a few euros in so doing, whereas now we are seeing really emerging talent come from a completely different world.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's just a testament to motorsport today, and I think in some ways a more democratic approach to motorsport, because you don't need the starting budget to be recognized as a real talent, because yes, I mean, sim racing a rig is quite an investment, but it is something that you have for more than 1 year.
See, this man is already across it. It's a rig.
It's a rig.
It's a rig.
It's a rig.
Yeah, it is. And basically by rig, you mean, you know, it's the steering wheel set up with the seat and the pedal controls and everything. It's almost like a racing cockpit, isn't it?
Indeed, exactly, including the screens. And obviously you've got different levels. And I think the only thing to say about that is if you think it's just a game, it definitely isn't. It's way more than... it's way more sophisticated than a game. It's really a simulation, and there is no wonder that all the way up to Formula One you have sim drivers who help support in the setup. And if you need any indication of how realistic it is to be in a simulator rig, I think Formula One is a very good indication of that. Now, back to the real world, back to this qualifying session. We're 1 minute in. We follow Yasin Ferrati, who set off that rabbit hole almost.
Yeah, but you did it so well. I was spellbound in listening to everything that you had to say. Sincerity. Here is Yasin Ferrati. You know I didn't mean that. There is a driver that, well, he certainly knows how to do it and will do it and can do it. Didn't have it all his own way in qualifying earlier on today, and that is one Mr. Björn Grossman, who's won everything there is to win in Ferrari Challenge, bar one thing.
Yeah, Björn Grossman hasn't been the greatest qualifier thus far. Race pace has been way better for him. Not necessarily had all the results come his own way. It's been a very interesting Trophio Pirelli season thus far, and you can say that after only 2 races and 1 extra qualifying session. But lots has happened already, and if we know one thing about the Ferrari Challenge, a lot can happen.
And invariably, definitely does.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, early stages of this qualifying session. Once again, we set the grid in this qualifying session for the race tomorrow. Today's race later this evening has already been set in quali number 1. And it was Luigi Coluccio who put it on P1 for that race.
Which was a great job done by Luigi. Just want to say hello to the club that have just joined us on air here in Misano. I turned around and got the shock of my life. We've got 100 people watching you and I broadcasting. Which if I'd have known that, I'd have put some trousers on. It is a joke, dear audience.
Well, yes, it is. In any sense. As we watch Björn Grossman go through the infield part of the circuit, or actually go towards the timing line, as you can see the new pit building and where the Passione Ferrari is based this weekend.
Yes.
On the left-hand side, the speed cam, we see Björn Grossman through, not quite at maximum speed yet.
These are what are technically known as installation laps, Nico.
Yeah, absolutely. And in Trophio Pirelli and Pirelli, we only have 20 minutes for the qualifying session. That is the, in quotes, penalty you get for splitting the two subcategories. So you have more track space, you get less time. As we see Yasin Ferrati, he has been out, he is coming back in. The ML Ferrari racing team so experienced, and they obviously engineered Giacomo Altoe to the championship last year.
And again, this is, we were talking about young drivers who are using the Ferrari Challenge as a springboard to even greater things in motor racing. So too do teams. I mean, the teams that are involved in the Ferrari Challenge today that realize just how important it is to be involved in this revered one-make series, which stretches around the world, Nico. It's not only here in Europe, but also in the UK, in North America, where we're racing this weekend in Daytona, Australasia and Japan, both of which we raced in just last weekend.
Yeah.
So it's a wide-reaching championship, and when I say revered, I mean it. Revered by the drivers, but also by the teams.
Yeah, absolutely. And it just shows that whatever path in motorsport you have chosen, the Ferrari Challenge is a great home where you can hone your skills, where you can match your wits with those in a similar category and skill level as yourself, and that is just one of the many appeals. And just that means why we have 75, 80 cars pretty much on every given round of the European Challenge, and that's an enormous number.
And the European Challenge is such an eclectic mix of nationalities as well. Despite the fact that we have 5 different regions around the world, we still attract over 22 different nationalities to race here in Europe.
Yeah, including from North America, including from Asia Pacific, obviously from Europe. Drivers from the UK, so it is really a great thing to have the drivers together from all different regions as we go back on board with Björn Grossman.
Yes, Björn Grossman. I love this onboard shot, Nico, because it's slung low down on the windscreen. You get a real impression of the speed, but also the accuracy with which the drivers are pinching and picking out their points. And we get a great sound as well from the wonderful power plant in these Ferrari 296 Challenge cars. Full chat flat through that kink, Nico.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that one.
Into the stadium section, now really breaking down. Now comes the technical final part of the lap. And you can almost feel the curbs when he's running over them.
Oh, that's great to be a part of this. How hard's he going to brake here? Fairly. Then wind it up. Full chat flat across the timing line now, and we'll see what sort of a time this is from Björn Grossman. It's a 1:34.117, Nico.
Yeah, we were in the 1:33s in qualifying 1, but we still have 13.5 minutes remaining, so there is still something, but that was a huge chunk of time taken out, 11 seconds quicker than the previous one.
It was just so good to be virtually the entire lap watching that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we've been watching so much of this, and it still captures our imaginations. We have a yellow flag in turn 6. That's the end of the first sector. You know, it's still fascinating to see the grip level, and you can really appreciate it from on board.
Yasin Ferrati, we can see right now, driver of the number 1 car. It was Giacomo Altoe that drove that very car to such success in Trophio Pirelli last year, and Giacomo Altoe now continuing his fantastic motor racing career. But he's back here this weekend because commitments allow him to do so, and he acts as a coach, doesn't he? Of course, to Emil Frey drivers, and Yasin Ferrati going past the flip-flop cam and giving us a great indication of the speed carried down that part of the track as we go back once again to Björn Grossman here. Yasin Ferrati's last lap was 1:34.875, so within 7/10 of Björn Grossman, and as you rightly say, Nico, I still expect times to come down still further.
For sure. He is going about that, and he is putting it into 1:33, so 1:33.495. Not quite the 11-second improvement that he had the last time around.
However,
now it's about shaving off those 10 and 100s and possibly thousands.
We are privileged to be able to bring you this action live as we go into the Emil Frey garage right now. And you can see all the data is being analysed at any one time. I mean, it's really taken extraordinarily seriously, where virtually every centimetre of tarmac is looked at. And of course, it's often you see the racing drivers with their coaches, with their engineers as well, at the end of a race or at the end of a session, absolutely analysing the data that has been sent back. And all of these things put together into a melting pot means that you can improve next time you go out in the car.
Yeah, 100%. And it is remarkable, really, how much goes into the team success. And it's really, really a team success. And for Yasin Ferrati, team success for the moment means that he's on provisional pole. 1:33.357 is a 1/10.5 quicker than the Björn Grossman time that he just eclipsed.
With 10 3/4 minutes remaining in this qualifying session, Nico, which is pretty much 50% of it done, how much should I read into the fact that neither Quinn Wittelsbach or Felix Herziger really have set meaningful times? They've done an installation, haven't they? I think they've been out on track, but they're just not, they're not figuring in the time-ins yet.
No, for Felix Herziger, I think the answer is fairly resolute that in a few moments' time, that fact will change as he's just rounding the final turn and finishing that lap, and already it's a very competitive one.
You're right.
Which means it's up to P2. Yeah, I mean, the 20 minutes is really, really short.
Yeah.
If you don't come out immediately, wait for 2 or 3 minutes, it takes a few minutes until you've installed and you've made that lap count. So we can see a lot of personal bests and a few overall bests on our timing screen. So the times are indeed coming down. And one of those is Gilles Renman, who was a race winner in race 1 in Monza.
Am I allowed to say perhaps a surprise winner?
Certainly when he entered the Parabolica on the final turn, we wouldn't have bet on his win, but no. Things happen and you have to be there and you have to be in striking distance when things happen, and Gilles Renman is in striking distance pole position for the moment, but Yasin Ferrati immediately, before we could even finish the sentence, takes it back.
Yes, so Yasin Ferrati now is pole position, but I was laughing because just as Nico was talking about Gilles Renman's how well he'd done, he had put it on pole position. But it was literally for a couple of seconds. Here's Felix Herziger. Now, don't rule this out from being an improvement either. P3 at the moment for Felix. But blue sector 1, purple sector 2. Carrying everything he can into this final turn. Keeps it within the white lines. Nico, this could be an improvement for Felix Herziger. Indeed it is, by 6.5 tenths. That's our new P1 driver. Indeed,
and dare I say, there are good chances that that's only a snapshot at the moment, and things are still moving and developing. Max Mugelli purple times, Yasin Ferrati purple times, Luigi Colucci, our pole setter for race 1, is within 2/100ths of a second through 2 sector of the current pole time. This is going to change, and it's going to change significantly, and dare I say, multiple times over the remaining 10 minutes or so. And you can see it's only 8 cars, and I say only in this subclass, but you can see that traffic still plays a part.
It does. Thing is, we are seeing times now into the 32s. Of course, since running this morning. More rubber has gone down on that track as Luigi Coluccio now goes P2, Nico, and relegates Gilles Renman to P3. But it's Felix Herziger P1, and here we can see an example of running just outside the track limits and how that can hurt you. Felix Herziger P1, Luigi Coluccio is P2, Jason Ferrati is P3. Wow, this is an exciting qualifying session with 8 cars out there doing everything they can over the remaining 7.5 minutes here, Nico. Only 2 drivers in the 132s. They are Felix Herziger and Luigi Coluccio.
Things are still evolving and changing with Felix Herziger stretching his lead now to 3.5 tenths with a 132.273. But again, Luigi Coluccio, Yasin Ferrati, just 2 of those drivers who are attacking. Max Magelli, another one. And now, as the drivers really push to the edge, track limits come into play because now they are really on the edge, and a little bit wide means that track limits mean your entire lap is disallowed. There is Yasin Ferrati.
Bit of flapping going on underneath that car, Nico. I think it's nothing other than perhaps a piece of plastic he's picked up, but I just wonder whether that's impactful. I'm not sure when you'll get to see it. I think you can hear it more than see it, actually. There, can you hear that noise? That's a piece of plastic, I think, that's underneath the car of Yasin Ferrati. I don't know whether it's having any impact, but again, we might pick it up on a different camera angle here. Thank you to the guys in our truck. There, you could see something come off there, Nico. And you can see that wobbling about. Well done to our team who are listening to every word you and I say, and they pick up on that. And, well, the Emil Frey team will be monitoring that. I wonder if he just ran over something on the track and picked it up underneath the car. Don't know. It's a mystery, as Toya Wilcox once said, as she was right at the top of the charts with that particular song. Luigi Coluccio is P2. Felix Herziger P3. Yasin Ferrati P3, rather. Felix Herziger is P1, pole position at the moment, with 5.5 minutes remaining. Vincenzo Scarpetta P4, Gilles Renman P5, Björn Grossman P6, Nico.
Yeah, he's not had the rub of the green in qualifying, and there you can see he's very much keeping to the outside, so not on anything like a quick lap. Will he retire into the pit lane? That looks slower than it
does
should
really
be,
slow.
But we will find out. I mean, he's such an experienced racer, and obviously the Octane 126 team know a thing about racing, so it's going to be interesting as Luigi Coluccio has put it on pole position, 132.212, exactly 61 thousandths quicker. So that puts him onto provisional pole. Max Magelli, he is currently in P7, but he is pushing and pushed a little bit too much potentially on that occasion, as indeed Björn Grossman has come into the pits.
And with 4.5 minutes remaining, it's not impossible for Björn to get out again, but it would be for really one timed lap.
I rather think if he had that intention, probably would have gone a little bit quicker coming back into the pits.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Just to give him a little bit more in terms of flexibility. But we will find out, as you say, 4 minutes and change. Yasin Ferrati first sector, very good. Quicker than the current pole time, which has been set by Luigi Coluccio, this very car that we are looking at. There is the Vincenzo Scarpetta car, number 90, very close there to the gravel, but just keeps it out of there. However, it kept it also outside of the white lines, and that means track limits have been adjudged to have not been observed by Vincenzo Scarpetta, so this time will not count.
And as a result of that, has slowed the car right down and will just begin building for the next lap. Already we're seeing a total of 6 lap times, or 6 effective laps have been taken away from drivers, Nico, for track limits.
Yeah, and also Yasin Ferrati on this attempt, I believe, has been judged to have run foul of track limits. We'll find out. For the moment, his P3 stays P3, so no harm, no foul. but it really happens toward the end of the session, simply because the drivers have put their bankers and now they're really, really going for that last little bit, the perfect pole time can very easily and very quickly become the imperfect pole attempt.
Yes.
Because it really just needs that very brief moment where all four wheels are outside of the white lines, and that's all you need for the lap to not count.
Luigi Coluccio, Felix Herziger, Yassin Ferrati, Vincenzo Scorbetta, Gilles Renman, Björn Grossman, Max Mugelli, Quinn Wiedlisbach. They are the top 8 Ferrari Challenge Trophio Pirelli drivers in the order that they have qualified thus far. With 2.5 minutes of this session remaining, still time for drivers perhaps to put an improvement in. Of course, more rubber has gone down on the track, but paradoxically, more rubber has come off the tyres that these drivers are using for qualifying. And with the tyres being used in qualifying, the tyres that you're going to race on as well, tyre longevity and risk reward in terms of perhaps gaining one position in qualifying versus what you will have available to you in the race, that is a calculation that the teams sometimes have, Nico.
Yeah, absolutely. Vincenzo Scarpetti has been the most stingy of them with only 6 laps done. So he has really kept the focus on tyre preservation, one might think.
Okay.
Most laps have been done by Yassin Ferrati. We saw him early, we saw him often, so 9 laps for him, and he is still out there, so he'll at least get up to 10. And he has just completed his 10th lap.
Here is Luigi Coluccio, who's continuing to stay out there because he didn't indicate left and go into the pit lane. So Luigi will do another lap, which by my reckoning will be the last lap, Nico.
Yeah, he just crossed the timing line with enough time to do one more, but once he has gone around this Misano circuit, the time will have elapsed and the checkered flag will be out, or he will dive into the pit lane. One way or the other, there's only one more lap. There is Yassin Ferrati, our most busy driver, or busiest driver here in this session. Is he on a quick one? Yes, he was through the first sector, only 8/100ths off the pace. So this definitely still bears watching, at the very least until the next sector line, and we will find out more of where he is in terms of overall position, as Herziger is about to take the timing line. Ferrati 3.5 off the pace. Not sure if that's going to be enough for a pole. Certainly looks like he's able to improve, but with Felix Herziger only 6/100ths off the pace, it's going to be a tough ask to get onto terms with him.
It's really interesting that you're looking at Yassin Ferrati here, driving for the Emil Ferrari racing team, and there's a very different style with Yassin Ferrati to that of Giacomo Altoa.
For sure.
Giacomo was the consummate driver that could go out, put a lap in, park the car. You know, he seemed to be able to deliver. Now, lots of different circumstances. We were talking about different tracks, of course, last year, and lots of other variables, but he was also super smooth. I just get the impression with Yassin, he's a bit more physical in the car. He's driving it a bit harder.
Yeah, for sure. Whether that has something to do with his racing background or not is something that's way outside.
We ought to ask him.
Yeah, possibly. Gilles Renman, he is in P5. And he has seen the checkered flag, so no further improvement from him. And I think, by all accounts, our quali result in Tropheo Pirelli for race 2 on Sunday has been determined.
I think you're right. It'll be Luigi Coluccio from Felix Herziger, Yassin Ferrati, Vincenzo Scarpetta, Gilles Renman, Björn Grossman, Max Mugelli, Quinn Wiedlisbach. As we look at the Luigi Coluccio car, Luigi is out of the car. Another good job done by the Rosso Corsa racing team. They, of course, have to engineer the car, and as is so often the case, the drivers and the teams, they win together. They succeed together, and just sometimes things don't go their way together. The emotions are shared, whether they're good emotions or perhaps more difficult emotions on occasions. Here it is then, the Rosso Corsa car and driver combo of Luigi Coluccio. cars being pushed back into the garages. Then, of course, we'll give you and bring you confirmation of the result of Trophio Pirelli qualifying in due course. We've got our Trophio Pirelli AM cars that will be out very soon as well. They'll have 20 minutes put on the clock for their second qualifying session of the weekend, which comes early on Saturday. And there is Yasin Ferrari, who finished P3 in the Ferrari Challenge Trophio Pirelli qualifying. And there is Yasin Ferrari, who delivered everything he possibly could in that qualifying session, and can be a danger man from P3 on the grid for race 2, that's for sure. Marshall's just taking a look at the track as we do get the classification as I promised you. Luigi Coluccio, P1, ahead of Felix Herziger, Yasin Ferrari, then Vincenzo Scarpetta. Gilles Renman, Björn Grossman, Max Mugelli, and Quinn Wietlersbach complete the top 8 of Trophio Pirelli qualifying. Trophio Pirelli AM qualifying is in just a moment, so 30 seconds away from now, I would suggest. There we have it then. Trophio Pirelli qualifying done. Trophio Pirelli AM qualifying to come next, where we will find 14 cars out there vying for every centimetre of tarmac that they can. They will include Andrew Morrow, Herbert Guys, Gianmarco Marzialetti, Mikael Verhagen, James Owen, Nobuhiro Imada, Henri Acide, Marco Zanassi, Otto Blank, Hanno Laskowski, NM, Armin Arifpour, and Hendrik Viol. They will all be out there trying to do their best in qualifying. Again, this will be for their race 2, which will come on Sunday. It's a nice shot of the new building to the left-hand side of the screen there, and a nice shot of Hendrik Viol, I believe that is, from Scuderia Prague Racing, who will be getting out there on track for his qualifying session, Nico. Hendrik, who had a fantastic, gave us a fantastic battle last year with Klaus Zebranson all the way to the end of the season for the Trophio Pirelli AM Championship. And yeah, it was a really, really good fight between them two, but hugely respectful, Nico. And both of them having highs and lows in the season, but in the end it was Klaus Zebranson that took the spoils of victory.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely in a great season and very respectful among the two drivers. Hendrik Viol battled all the way to Imola, where under very different weather conditions, it was raining a lot for the World Finals. He battled it and actually got the win in the race, but didn't get the win in the championship because Klaus Zebranson had built enough of a cushion. And we're already underway in this session. Already a minute has ticked off the clock, and that means 5% have already gone, because again, it's only 20 minutes of this session. So the drivers, we expect most of them to come out fairly quickly. The first 3 have followed that unofficial advice, and their teams have sent them out. Hanno Laskowski was the one who stayed in the pit lane the longest for qualifying 1 earlier today. And we will see if that's the same. There's Herbert Guys in that slightly, colorful livery compared to last year. I think it's fair.
Yeah, I think it is fair. If you didn't see Herbert's car from last year, it was certainly one of the most vibrant in terms of different colors, and paid homage, is that fair to say, Nico, to a particular event that happens particularly in Germany?
Yeah. Yeah, quite a festive season, especially in the Rhine area of Germany, and this is what Herbert Geis is professionally associated with. Just type in Herbert Geis Ferrari Challenge and you will find delivery from last year, and you can get much more. Marco Zanazzi, who couldn't have gotten much more out of qualifying one, actually.
No, he was brilliant, wasn't he? Really, really quick. And now, what does it do to a driver, Nico? How the heck can you answer that? Because you're no more a racing driver than I am ballet dancer. But, I mean, that was a bit harsh, wasn't it? I apologise for that. But, yeah, Marco Zanazzi, who qualified really, really well this morning. What does it do to your confidence as a driver when you know you've got it in you and the car to be able to go out there and perform? Must be worth a tenth or two.
Yeah, for sure. At the very least, it's resiliency. You know you've done it. You know that it's in you and in the car. So if something goes wrong, if there is traffic, you will have the confidence that you can do it again. Whereas if you have to overcome misfortune, it's always more difficult.
Yeah. Look at Hendrik Viol, whose eyes are always 1 or 2 corners ahead of where he is. He's plotting his every move. He's only installing at the moment, but he's looking at every nuance on the track to ascertain where he can give it everything and where he can perhaps gain time relative to what he did earlier on. You could also hear him on and off the gas there as he's trying to generate temperature, Nico, and bring everything up to speed. It's what those drivers use these installation laps for. And Hendrik Viol, not only a very, very good driver, a darn nice chap as well, and the Scuderia Prague team, who have engineered some success over many, many years in the Ferrari Challenge. You know, we are seeing new teams come into the Challenge all the time, but there's also always that kind of hardcore baseline of teams that have been around for a long, long time. You know, the Rosso Corsas, the Kessel Racings, the Scuderia Prague team. You know, I'm going back to the days of Robert Purgel. And of course, we're off to the Czech Republic, Brno, aren't we, in this 2025 season. I'm very much looking forward to being back there.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be the Whitsun weekend, beginning of June, that we go to Brno. And I mean, you're always invited to come to any of the Ferrari Challenge events. And we have a wonderful calendar, which we already saw, 2 gigs in Spain. Brno, yeah, if you have to insist, you can come to Hockenheim. I mean,
oh, yeah, but you do yourself a disservice. I mean, Hockenheim is one of those legendary tracks, steeped in history and steeped in. I mean, I've had some really, really good times at Hockenheim. I've had some tough times at Hockenheim as well. I've seen some absolutely brilliant races, and I've seen some that are not quite so good. It has, you know, it's yeah, you do yourself a disservice. Just, you know, it's only what, an hour from Frankfurt.
Yeah, of course. I mean, when the Ferrari Challenge is in town, any place in the world, even a parking lot would be nice, but...
Talking of which, no,
yes.
We'll get onto that story another... Well, here in Misano, the PowerPoints in the car park, which seemed to attract Nico's rental car in Barcelona, which is somewhere else we're also going this year, where he came within a 1,000th wiping out the entire power supply to the circuit with his rental car. We came a bit close last night here in Misano as well. What is it about you and PowerPoints in car parks? Mikael Verhagen is P1 at the moment with a 136.602. He's going to hate me for that. NM 138.926. Then it's Otto Blank with a 143.53. Sorry.
Michael Verhagen, he had a very good campaign thus far, and you say, well, it's only 2 races. Yeah, but he has P1 and P2, and he put it on the front row with P2 in qualifying 1, and he is, for the moment, calling the shots. P1 for the time being in this quali session for Pirelli AM.
Big shout out to Nobuhiro Imada, who was racing just last weekend with Formula One in Suzuka, and is P2. He was racing the Ferrari Challenge Japan Series last weekend in Suzuka and did a very good job. James Owen goes to P3. NM is P4, and it's the NM car from Rosso Corsa that we're watching right now, Nico. Then it's Otto Blank, Andrew Morrow, Gianmarco Mazzioletti, Henri Acide, Francesco Galli, then Hanno Laskowski, and Hendrik Viol, who we spent some time with on board earlier on. 1:33.883. The best time so far. Andrew Morrow gets closest with a 1:35, but actually make that NM now who gets closest, because Andrew Morrow's time was taken away because of track limits. There's Andrea, who's head honcho at the Rosso Corsa team.
Yeah, and he really, as you said, traditional team here in the Ferrari Challenge, very, very good and competitive team. And Michael Verhagen, not satisfied with the 1:33.883, but going again and through 2 sectors again, very much on an improvement trajectory, as the color coding on the graphics indicates.
We get into the 32s.
A little bit of a wiggle here coming out of the final turn. And
track limits.
Yeah, and I thought it might have been just a little bit too much, but indeed, Claudio Garavini thought and saw it the same way. So track limits means that this 1:33.298, which it would have been.
Here it is in replay. Nico, you called that right. It was close, but it was a slam dunk, dare I say.
Yeah, would have been almost 6/10 quicker again than the previous best time.
Which still wouldn't have put him into the 32s.
No, not quite. But there is still time. 11.5 minutes plus a little bit. There is James Owen.
So James Owen then, who is currently second fastest. And James, of course, who was victorious in the Finale Mondiale race at the end of last year. A very, very good driver is James, whose son is actually taking the more traditional young talent route, Nico, and is karting at the moment. Archie's here this weekend. I spoke to him earlier on, and yeah, he'll be watching and seeing how well James does here. And at the moment it's P3, because Andrew Morrow has just posted a 1:34.609, which gives him P2.
Although that time,
however,
has been deleted due to track limits, unfortunately. A little bit of a recurring theme, but the Misano circuit really invites that. It is, with its wide runoff areas and painted parts and AstroTurf around the track, really invites the drivers to be absolutely on the limit, and sometimes, you know, just a little bit over the limit, which is also going to be very interesting for the races later today and tomorrow, because whereas now here, simply lap times being deleted, you get a few warnings in the race, and then it's 5 seconds or even more grave penalties that await, so you really have to be careful. So already half the session has ticked away almost. Henrik Viol finds himself down in P9 as we go on board with him, and we will see if this lap is an improvement. And yes, indeed, by Germany, up to P2, Henrik Viol vaults 7 drivers and goes from P9 to P2.
Big margin of improvement. Francesco Galli just improves as well and goes to P3 for Kessel Racing. Henri Acide, a winner of the Copa Shell Championship last year, elevated to Trophio Pirelli Am this year, has just gone 3rd fastest, Nico. And here comes Nobuhiro Imada. So Nobuhiro Imada currently sitting P6, as Herbert Guys now goes P3.
And Marco Zanazzi, pole setter for race 1, follows suit up to P4. So now we can see things are changing. The order is rapidly moving up and down. Everybody effectively who finishes the lap finds himself in a better position than the previous time around. Not so for Nobuhiro Imada. Yeah, yes, say it. It's okay.
Here comes Henri Acide. Then he was a very dominant driver in Copa Shell last year. Is he finding life a little more difficult in Trophio Pirelli Am? For sure.
Oh, of course. It would be weird if he didn't, but he's certainly mixing it up with the top drivers, as you can see. P5, 2 personal bests. The first one was actually quicker than the current pole time. Certainly on an upward movement trajectory, as is Marco Zanazzi, who you can see by the sector times really challenging for P1.
Purple sector 1, purple sector 2, Nico, for Marco Zanazzi. Well done for picking that one out. He driving for Motor Service Pinetti Motorsport. Marco Zanazzi, as we see Henri Acide cross the timing line and goes up 2 places. What's Marco Zanazzi going to do? As long as he can keep it within the white lines and That's clean and tidy, Nico. And he heads towards the timing line now. He breaks the timing beam, and by a margin of very nearly 6/10, he goes P1.
And previously, Hendrik Viol had edged Michael Verhagen by 3/1000ths of a second. So this is the gap between P2 and P3 for the time being. We have a track limit and the lap time deleted, but that is not for our provisional pole setter. That is actually Hanno Laskowski who gets a warning, and thereby his latest and best attempt taken off the board. There is Hendrik Viol. Currently resides in P2.
Running the telemetry on his car as well, but his personal best, Sector 1 and Sector 2. This could be an improvement from Hendrik Viol. 170 kilometers per hour before braking for that little turn, and then back on the gas once again in third gear up to 8,500 revs before engaging fourth. Take that little kick, full chaff flat, then 2 left-handers to do. We've done the first one, here comes the second. Now it's point the car to the timing line, shortcut it as much as you can and cross the line. Stays P2, Nico.
Yeah, a little bit of an improvement in terms of time, but not quite able to get on terms with Marco Zanazzi. Who else is out of position? Hanno Laskowski in P last, certainly among them. Andrew Morrow, a race winner, and very, very consistent and strong driver down in P10. Yeah. So he certainly has work to do over the
track limits has really haunted Andrew.
Yeah, definitely.
After saying that, Marco Zanazzi has had 2 track limit warnings, Nico, in this qualifying session. So that's 2 laps Marco delivered that were deleted.
Yeah, including one that he's currently on, which, in fairness, wouldn't have been an improvement.
Okay. We saw just a moment ago Hendrik's partner watching on, along with team boss of Scuderia Prague, Ivo Horn, as they are guiding and encouraging Hendrik to do all he can out there. At the moment, it would be a front row start, but it would not be pole position. Now, back on the gas again, and he used the latter part of that lap to prepare himself for this lap.
We will certainly watch that as Hendrik Viol, obviously the car, great livery, very distinctive. His driving style equally.
In replay, there it is. You're so right. That is such a distinctive color scheme.
Nobuhiro Imada, he currently finds himself in P6, and we could just see him go through the picture. There is Michael Verhagen, currently relegated to P3. He would so dearly stay on his front row trend that he continued earlier today. For the moment, he's been off the front row, pushed down by Hendrik Viol. And this lap, I don't think is going to be a marked improvement, if any. But we have 4 minutes and 25 seconds remaining. Yeah, no improvement here. So this might be the one that Michael Verhagen has penciled in to be his pole lap, question mark.
Hendrik has not had the sector times that he would like. I mean, they're not horrible, but they're not where they need to be. And he's bailing this lap, Nico.
Yeah, again, it goes back to the risk-reward factor in terms of, okay, I mean, P2, I don't necessarily see an immediate threat coming up, which may or may be a correct, may or may not be a correct assessment, but at some point you have to decide, well, do I go again? Do I put more wear on the tires? For the moment, he has done 7 laps, which would at least be 8.
With 4 minutes remaining, someone that is going again, because he's just passed below our studio, which of course we can see and you can't, Henri Acide.
Yeah, he is currently in P4, and he and his team...
he feels that there's a possibility.
There is a possibility.
Probably only get 1 lap, maybe 2.
Yeah, Hendrik Viol also, who was in the pit lane, is also on his way to the pit exit, so they feel like there is still something to be gained in this session. Sometimes it's just a little bit of tire pressure adjustment,
you're right,
which will just give you that little bit, and it's really, really minimal margins here.
I rather think that Hendrik Viol has said, do you know what, I can deliver no more than P2. Let's see. Here he is. Is he parking the car up? Is he getting out of the car?
Yeah, I think That's quality done for Hendrik Viol.
Yep.
Not pole position, but a very, very good showing once again. Just, we said it, he's Mr. Consistent. He was Mr. Consistent last year, and that was good enough for P2, almost good enough for P1.
Yeah. So, yeah, he feels that, you know, the nearly 5 tenths that he would need to find would just take so much out of the car that it's not going to happen. Meantime, Francesco Galli, Nico, for Kessel Racing has done has done personal best in Sector 1 and Sector 2. He's got traffic ahead of him. He's currently sitting P7. We've got 2 minutes remaining. Andrew Morrow, I believe, is the car ahead of him. Where's Andrew Morrow at the moment? P9. We know Andrew is capable of improving on that. Francesco Galli does improve 1 place. Moves up to P6. Herbert Geiss is P5. He's also in the pit lane with 1 3/4 minutes remaining. We take a look at the Kessel team then as we go and infiltrate the garage and watch the engineers and mechanics, of course, who are all glued to that timing screen. As Henri Acide, we gave you the hot information that he was on his way out of the pit lane. He's going to have this lap and potentially 1 more within which to improve from his current 2nd row start if everything stayed this way, because he's P4.
Yeah, good first sector, not blazingly quick, but very quick. So still in with a chance to at least improve up to the front row, but we will find out much more at the end of this 2nd sector, which he approaches in a few moments' time. And yeah, there is still an improvement in it for him. Will it be good enough? Can it be good enough for a front row start? It's more dubious, but we will find out. It's this stadium section, the last part of this circuit. Triple right-hander, then the 2 left-handers, and turn 15, this turn, is one where track limits have played a role. Not on this occasion. Henri Acide really, really controlled through there. He would have to have a 1:33.286 for a front row start. I'm not sure if it's going to be enough, but it's going to be close. It is an improvement in terms of time, and he still has time on the clock to go again, but it wasn't just enough.
Marco Zanassi then is out of his car, feels that he's done enough and feels that no one is going to trouble him. The only person potentially that could is this driver, maybe, Henri Acide. Although, still out there, James Owen, Nobuhiro Imada, NM, Otto Blank, Armin Arifpour, Hanno Laskovsky is coming to the pit lane. His session is done. Henri Acide, his Sector 1 was not enough, I don't think, to be troubling Marco Zanassi or Hendrik Viol. A valiant effort by Henri Acide. Marco Zanassi watches on just to see if anyone is going to test his time. Takes on some well-needed fluid after that fine qualifying performance. And car number 40 loses a lap time. That's James Owen, who's P8. A creditable qualifying performance from James Owen. Back into the Ferrari Challenge for this round. Missed out at Monza, but he's here again. And we're pleased about that. The Kessel driver, Henri Acide, Nico, I think has done all he's going to do. He indicates left, comes into the pit lane. I think our order is done, and this man, Marco Zanassi, is P1.
2nd pole position from 2 qualifying sessions, so
impressive.
Definitely, and just shows how balanced this championship is. It was Michael Verhagen who was arguably the top dog in this championship in Monza, and Misano, for the time being, it looks like the Marco Zanassi festival, but we still have both races left to do.
Indeed. Super slow-mo replay of Marco Zanassi then, who's got a huge presence here in the paddock at Misano. To be fair, lots of guests, and, well, I wonder if that really just pushes you on as well, when you know there's a lot of people here who are supporting you. Well, you know, that gives you something also. Well done, Marco Zanassi. Huge round of applause from just some of those guests, and he goes and thanks his team as well, because, of course, as we've said so many times, you win and you lose as a team together. Right, let's bring you the classification in full from top to bottom. Marco Zanassi is right at the top. He could not get higher. Hendrik Viol, P2. Mikael Verhagen, P3. Ahead of Henri Acide. Herbert Guys, Francesco Galli, Nobuhiro Imada and James Owen occupying the first 4 rows of our Trophio Pirelli AM grid. Ahead of Hanno Laskowski, Andrew Morrow, NM, Otto Blank, Gianmarco Marzialetti and Armin Arefpour. That's the way it looks for Trophio Pirelli AM qualifying. We still have Copa Shell qualifying to come in but a while. Thank you so much for watching. We'll be back soon. Bye-bye for now.
Welcome to Copa Shell qualifying, the last qualifying of this event already on the Saturday afternoon. So we follow a different rhythm, if you have noticed, which, given you're following qualifying here for the Ferrari Challenge, I'm sure that you have. It is the final qualifying session. This will set the grid for Copa Shell Race 2 tomorrow. Welcome to Misano. And here is the calendar for you. We are at round 2. We've been to Monza. We are at Misano, Hockenheim, Brno, double stint in Spain in summer. Then it's Spa-Francorchamps, and then the glittering World Finals in Mugello at the end of October. That's our calendar here in Europe. Obviously, Ferrari Challenge in lots of regions around the world, North America, the UK, where my friend and colleague Dave Richardson hails from.
Yes, indeed. And of course, that UK series gets underway in, it must be the last starting this year, as we get underway in just 2 weeks' time.
In Spain, coincidentally.
Yeah, I know, it doesn't make sense, but yeah, in Spain, Navarra.
There was the track layout for this Misano circuit. Track temperature 29 degrees, 8 degrees, nice outside ambient temperature, not too hot, certainly not too cold when you come from Germany, I can tell you.
Here, located in our commentary studio, we're directly opposite the studio. I can see two driver coaches, Andrea Fausti and Kevin Chechon, who are sitting discussing. I almost feel like going and banging on the studio window and seeing if I can attract their attention, but I won't do that. Instead of which, I'll talk about the drivers that you're going to see in qualifying. They are Motohiko Isasaki, Oscar Rinčević, Christian Kinch, Tibor Valint, Zoe Skrimpias, John Dillon, Thomas Gosner, Fabrizio Fontana, Cristiano Maciel, Corinna Gosner, Fon Skelterma, Jan Sandman, and this driver combo is Manuela Gosner, who, I have to say, Nico, if any drivers had to dig deep to get into qualifying for the second round, because this qualifying is for the second race, Manuela's going to have to. She had a torrid time of it in qualifying 1 earlier today.
Yeah, absolutely. But she's got the ability, she's got the experience, she's got the resolve to do that. So we will follow that, as we will follow all the other 12 entries to this sessions, as we see the first ones filing towards the end of pit lane. And we see just a few of them in shot, including the 121 car of Oscar Rinčević, who we could just see outside of our commentary window, and you can see him and his car in center shot. In about 6 seconds, the lights at the end of the pit lane will go from red to green.
Indeed so. So cars, some of which are champing at the bit. It's good to welcome back Tibor Valint, Nico, and we can see Tibor there inside the car, ready to get going. Pit lane is open now. We've got the green flag. We're ready to rock and roll and soul with the Ferrari Challenge Trophio Pirelli cars having already been out qualifying. These are the Copa Shell drivers. You can identify a Copa Shell driver from the yellow strip across the top of the windscreen, as we can see there on the Manuela Gosner car. Manuela driving for the Ineco Rappada Corsa Ram team. And of course, top boss there and driver coach as well is Giorgio Sonaggiotto, who knows a thing or two about racing cars and driving racing cars, it has to be said. I had a nice chat with Giorgio earlier. Hello, Mr. Magpie, 1, 2, 3, which is a tradition we have to do in the UK to have good luck when you see a magpie. And that's what I did, Nico, and that's why I did it, if I needed to explain my actions to you. Meantime, here's Zoe Skrimpias, driver of the 147 car. Of course, driving in Copa Shell this year, because he won the championship in Copa Shell Am last year, having never, ever driven a racing car. To the point where you will recall when I actually said to Zoe Skrimpias, you're lying to me. There's no way you've not driven a racing car. And it was absolutely true, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And as you said, he was fairly dominant in the championship in Am last year. And Monza was a decent weekend, but he won up that in qualifying 1, put it on pole position for the race later today. So if there was any question whether he had arrived, he has arrived, and there is Zoe Skrimpias. in his final stages of preparation. 28 minutes remaining, so he's still got a few seconds to make sure that his wardrobe, his race wardrobe, is in perfect condition.
Sorry, I've just seen Johnny Kane, who is driver coach to Andrew Morra, who was out qualifying in Trophio Pirelli Ama a few moments ago. Johnny Kane with his shorts on. I don't think I've ever seen that. It's not a pretty sight. We continue looking through our drivers ready to go out there, including Cristiano Maciel. He will be out there qualifying for our Copa Shell drivers. Motohiko Sasaki, of course, he will be out there as well. And he was one of the drivers, Nico, that just last weekend were in support of Formula One at Suzuka Circuit, where Motohiko Sasaki did a darn good job. We know what a good driver he is.
Yeah, absolutely. Very good driver, very enthusiastic. There is Jan Seltman, another driver who was elevated from Copa Shell Am for this season.
Deservedly so, in my opinion.
Definitely. We saw him in the Winter Challenge for the first time, where he had a very, very good and solid entry to the Ferrari Challenge racing, and such was his success and his liking for the experience that he went to Europe and did his first full season last season in 2024, and the results were such that he's been elevated to Copa Shell as well, and we will see what he can do in this race this afternoon, or rather evening actually, given how late we race, as well as the race tomorrow. There is Corinna Gostner, one of the 3 strong Gostner family in this session. There is Thomas Gostner, Manuela we already talked about, and obviously Corinna.
And on occasions we also see David racing as well. I mean, it's a real family affair with the Gostners, isn't it? Lovely people, and yeah, good to see Corinna back. Out there in the 173 car, with the back end of which we are looking at right now. The front end of which is Tibor Valent, I hope. Whew, got that right. There he is in the 132 car, engineered by Baron Service, Baron Motorsport, the team and organisation which is headed up by Philip Baron, multi Ferrari Challenge champion and former single-seater star as well. And now he is the archetypal team boss, who is like a headmaster at your worst school. Because I can remember, I don't know whether I've told you this story, probably I have, when his pupil, racing driver, didn't do what he wanted to do and didn't do what he expected him to do in the race, he actually refused to fly home with him. They flew on different flights. He was so cross because he felt he should have done more. I mean, come on.
Yeah. Well, Philip Barrett is actually a pretty decent guy.
He's a nice bloke, yeah. I've painted him at being a real Dracula, but he isn't. He's actually a really nice guy.
Yeah, absolutely. But
he's demanding.
He's demanding, and to good effect for his drivers. That very driver became champion. I'm not sure if it was the same season or the next one, but definitely.
And that very driver is racing this weekend in Daytona.
Well, there you go. Tibor Valent, we didn't see a lot of him in the first qualifying session because he only did 6 laps, finished the session P6, so very much on a tire preservation strategy in qualifying 1. Let's see how he goes about his business in qualifying 2. Certainly has come out earlier and is the first one to set a, I want to say meaningful, because we're still quite a few seconds away from we were in the earlier qualifying sessions, but he is on P1 for the time being, as we see the shark-fronted teeth of Fons.
Shark-fronted teeth?
Yes, exactly.
Shark's teeth fronted.
One way or the other.
One way or another is going to get you one way, or no, I could break out into song, but it's probably best I don't do that. It was Fons Skelzema. It was Fons Skelzema, who of course was, I said to him at lunchtime, back to where we expect him to be at Monza. He was back on the podium, Nico.
Yeah, he had last year, he went on a podium drought, which was the first in many, many years. Certainly the
big
first
save there. Forgive me, Oscar Lee Rintovic, who got the back end out, made it look really spectacular for us and held on to it as well. Really impressive.
Yeah, very, very good car control. So Fons had no podiums last year, which definitely is the first time I can remember in my time in the challenge, but it all came good in Monza when he finished P3, and he will hope to replicate that. Certainly didn't do a good job of that in qualifying 1, so he will try to better that in this second qualifying session. Oscar Rinčević, he is currently in P1 with a 1:38.965. That's still quite a bit away from where we would expect the times towards the end of the session.
Kessel Racing at the moment have got double bubble, Nico, because they've got P1 and P2 with Oscar Rinčević and Jan Sandman, both P1 and P2. However, as you quite rightly say, we do expect to see the times come down significantly between now and the end of the session. So it is Rinčević from Sandman, from Valent, from Marchel, and then it is Corinna Gosner who completes those that have set times thus far. You can see those in the graphics on the left-hand side of your screen right now. Oscar Lee Rinčević then. We're running the clock on right now. He is currently P1. And a super replay here of the 296 challenge car of the Kessel Racing driver. I love the absolute detail we can show you from that picture. And there, as we were talking about Kessel Racing, of course, the team headed up by Ronnie Kessel. It is Cristiano Machel, who drives for the FBO Motorsports team. Top 2 remain the same at the moment. First 8 minutes of the qualifying session are done, so we've still got, Nico, some 9 drivers to actually come out there and start to think about installing themselves and their cars ready to post a lap time that will be meaningful for race 2, which will come on Sunday, tomorrow, where the weather conditions might not be quite as favourable as we have seen in the beautiful weather that we've had thus far since we've been here, what feels like a few days. We've had sunshine, we've had dry conditions. That might change tomorrow.
Yeah, forecast.
Just saying.
Yeah, forecast is that over midday tomorrow, the weather will turn and rain will fall. So that will be interesting. Certainly, the drivers don't have a lot of experience in the 296 challenge on this circuit, because this is obviously the first time that we have been to Misano with the new car, which was introduced to the challenge last season. So there is very little data in the dry, or at least there was very little data coming here. There is definitely no data in the wet.
You're right. Corinna Gosner has gone P2, Nico. Great showing from the CDP MP racing driver Corinna Gosner to put it P2. And we're watching Cristiano Machel, who's done a personal best through Sector 1. How's Sector 2 going to shape up? He will cross the line, and the colour bar for Sector 2 will either change to grey, blue or purple, depending upon what he achieves. At the moment it's staying grey, so Cristiano Machel then now, full chat flat, gives it everything he can, 100% on the loud pedal, heading towards breaking the timing beam. And Cristiano Machel, Nico, goes P1.
Yeah, actually with more than a second quicker than the previous best time from Rinčević, so definitely a very, very good lap. And there we see him again in replay. He was very visible in Monza, very eventful races for him. Good results as well, and there is someone, well, success follows wherever he puts his wheels. Fabrizio Fontana.
The winner of the 488 Challenge Championship last year has come into the 296 Challenge this year, and if we're honest, did we expect him to be so dominant straight away? Probably not, but he's just a born racer, isn't he? And clearly, having come from a non-racing background, and by that I mean non-circuit racing, much more of a loose sideways driver, because he was always competing in rally. The proverbial duck to water he has taken to this series of circuit racing and doing really, really well. So one to watch, as is this man, Christian Kinch, as he accelerates now out of the final turn and heads towards the turn line. Where will this place Christian Kinch? It will place him P2, Nico.
Yeah, good showing from him. Already good showing in the first qualifying session, but he follows that up and a good time. Yeah, Fabrizio Fontana, just to go back to him, he was the 488 champion. He was dominant.
Oh.
He took the first 8 pole positions on the bounce in class. And
did he not win the championship with 2 rounds left to run?
Yes, absolutely. 4 races remaining, 2 rounds, and he had already bagged the championship. And as you say, it's a different car. It's a totally different experience, as the drivers tell us. A very good one, but it is different. And he took the race win in Monza, race 1, had some misfortune in the second race. That meant that he didn't score as highly, but he has made no mistake in qualifying 1 and put it in pole position. So certainly you wouldn't bet against him.
No, you would be unwise to do so. At the moment, the order is Marchel, Gosner, Kinch, Valent, Rinčević, Sandman, Skeltermar, Isasaki, and Thomas Gosner. I think bar 2 drivers, every wheel driver is out on track now, Nico.
Yeah, including a few who are still on their outlap, and that results in huge speed differences. And one example we could just see as Christian Kinch was going past Zoe Skrimpius was not nearly at the same pace, and Christian really maneuvered that well, but it was a close call, and that may have cost him a little bit of time, and we will find out in but a few moments as he crosses the timing line whether that P4 will stay or if he's able to climb the order and get higher up. And indeed, it's 1 position, but I think he lost a little bit of time in that sector.
I think I would agree with that, so he will have to go again. Now, all of a sudden, lots of drivers being impacted potentially by other drivers. Cristiano Marchel just dived into behind Corinna Gosner, and I half wonder whether he might have got a little bit of a draft off the Gosner car, which may have just sucked him across the timing line, perhaps a 100th quicker than he would have done. So it is Cristiano Marchel P1, Thomas Gosner is P2 right now, Christian Kinch P3, Von Skeltermar on the podium in Monza is P4, then it is Corinna Gosner and Manuela Gosner having a much better time of it in this qualifying session. Here comes Christian Kinch, who's got to go again, Nico.
Yeah, absolutely, and the first sector certainly indicates that he is going again. Purple sector, now he rounds that extended hairpin, as you could call it, at the end of sector 2. He will approach the timing line in a few moments, and indeed still very, very strong. Not purple in the second sector.
Still 9/100ths up.
Yeah, ran a little wide there. But now through that stadium section, this is really the technical part, and this is where once tire degradation kicks in, this is where it figures the most. But obviously the Pirelli P0s now in their prime peak conditions at temperature, perfect tire pressure. Christian Kinch, perfect trajectory through the final turn, didn't run too wide. And now we will see, where can he put the car? 1:34.823 is the pole time. Not anymore.
Wow, done. Christian Kinch goes P1. The driver from Sweden, who is about 9 foot tall, and will be feeling every one of those feet right now as he's delivered a 1:34.331. Great driving from Christian Kinch. Here comes Fabrizio Fontana. He's going to have to dig deep, but he has dug deep. And he's got personal best through sector 1 and sector 2. He's got Tibor Valent up against him now. Tibor Valent, who is perhaps not on the same speed as Fabrizio Fontana. He tries to get out of the way, but the trouble is you cannot make your car disappear, Nico. So Tibor could sense that Fabrizio was on a fast lap, but he just couldn't make his car disappear. He tried to get out of the way. Fabrizio's going to have to go again. This lap will not be the one that does it for him.
No, indeed. Manuela Gosner has put it onto P2, and she is purple sector, so whatever was ailing her in Quali 1 seems to have gone away. There we pick her up. There is the car of Manuela Gosner. There are the timing sectors. The second sector again, not quite as dominant as the first one, but still on the trajectory to do something about potentially unseating Christian Kinch for pole position, provisionally at least.
So Manuela Gosner then with but a few turns to do. Is this the return of the driver that we know can be right up there? And Manuela Gosner then rounds the final turn, points the car towards the timing beam. Will try and shortcut it, the shortest possible route to the timing beam as Manuela Gosner with just a 10th, Nico. Didn't quite do it.
No, was an improvement in terms of time. Wasn't quite able to get on turn with Christian Kinch, but Oh, and that
Oscar.
is once again the Oscar Rinčević car. He's really pushing. You can see he's really, really pushing, but that was pushing it just a little bit too much. Two drivers who are buried down the order. One of them is Fabrizio Fontana, the other Zoe Scrimpius, who are front row for race 1 for the moment with 13 minutes remaining, way off the pace. And I don't know if that Oscar Rinčević situation compromised them for either of them.
Possibly.
We will find out. Fabrizio Fontana certainly personal bests. Will it be enough to be at the very sharp end? I get my code.
Motohiko Izazaki, who was racing just last weekend in Suzuka, has now put it P4. So great job done by Motohiko Izazaki. It's Fabrizio Fontana P1 as Nico does get his coat and exits stage left, a 1:34.220. And Stefano Guy, who of course is driver coach to this very car that you can see center screen right now, and driver combo, which is Fabrizio Fontana. He did it, Nico, just when you predicted he wouldn't.
Well, he definitely made every sector count, and you said it many times, you don't have to have all the sectors purple, and definitely Fabrizio Fontana made no mistake and put it on pole. It's less than a 10, so the margin is small, but there is this margin, and that's what it's all about. Zoe Scrimpius, he's trying to move up the order. He is now the last of our competitors on the timing screen. Motohiko Izazaki is currently in P4, trying to move up the order. Not sure if this lap will be good enough to do it. There is Zoe Scrimpius right in front of him, so it will be interesting where he slots in with 11 minutes and 45 seconds remaining. Zoe Scrimpius moves from P13. Nowhere. It was an improvement in terms of time, but he stays in P13 for the time being. So next time will be the charm, hopefully, for him.
I have to say, of all the qualifyings we've seen today, we are seeing race 2 qualifying right now as we ride on board with John Dillon and run the telemetry on his car as well. You can see 211 kilometers per hour before he brakes, and then back down through the gearbox, down to 3rd gear, back on the gas once again. Give it everything you can, 100% on the loud pedal. This is a compelling qualifying session that we're enjoying as we ride on board with the Formula Racing driver John Dillon, race winner, Copa Shell star, absolutely giving it everything he can. If memory serves me, I think it's going to be a 2nd row start for race 1. What can he do for race 2? At the moment he's P6 in qualifying. We know John has got the ability to be much higher up the order, but in qualifying 1, Nico, John was the perfect example of organic improvement as the session went on, little by little by little. Right, John Dillon is pointing towards the timing line right now. Personal best through Sector 1 and Sector 2. John Dillon improves 3 places, Nico, up to P3.
Absolutely, and the last sector was the best of them, a purple one. So very, very good driving from him. Fabrizio Fontana, our pole setter, again stretching his legs and trying to extend his lead. But John Dillon, no mistake there in the final sector. Very, very good, and just been relegated to P4 by Zoe Scrimpius. There is Fabrizio Fontana, ran a little bit wide there, it looked like it. And there was a little bit of traffic in front of him, but Motohiko Izazaki to the side, no hindrance there. So can Fabrizio Fontana increase his margin? He's certainly less than a 10th up, and now it's just over 6/10.
Fabrizio Fontana on a mission in this qualifying session, which I repeat, I think is the most compelling qualifying session we have seen today. Very unusual to get 2 qualifying sessions in a Ferrari Challenge weekend on the same day, but the whole reason behind that is because we're racing at night tonight, and therefore we'll be racing tomorrow, and the qualifying's all being done today. Of course, that changes the strategy for the drivers and the teams, because ordinarily they would go out and run on a set of scrub tyres from race 1. They've not had that benefit today, Nico.
Yeah, absolutely. It changed a little bit the approach and certainly changed the strategy. I don't know if that has an effect on how entertaining and fascinating this qualifying is, but we're enjoying it, whatever the reason. Zoe Scrimpius, P3. In this session thus far, he is pushing first sector. I don't think this is going to be a massive improvement, if any, but he's certainly still pushing and trying to move up the order. Christian Kinch, he set his time quite some time ago, and he's in the pit lane.
He's parked the car, hasn't he? For the moment, he could come out again. There's enough time for him to do that, should he feel it's necessary. So Skrimpias does not improve, Nico.
No, not this time around, but he, as you can see, as he throws the car into that first chicane with quite a little bit of aggression.
Gusto, I would say.
Fair point.
Super slow-mo replay then of just how hard he is pushing it. They wring the neck of these cars. I mean, they are a phenomenal racing car, and they give it absolutely everything they can. There is the Christian Kinch car, Nico. And Christian Kinch has decided to park it up right now. It's the Tyre Preservation Society. I would suggest for Christian Kinch at the moment, he will respond if he needs to respond, perhaps.
Yeah, for sure. There is Thomas Gostner, slightly unfamiliar livery, P8 for the moment. Manuela Gostner, one daughter currently in P5. Corinna has been relegated to P12. And Thomas, as we see, he is in P8, trying to move up the order again after being P2 for some part of the session.
So we run the timing on Thomas Gostner then, the CDP MP Racing, of course, the team that is headed up by Massimo Pepe, who's been involved with the Ferrari Challenge for many years and involved with the Gostners and engineering them to great success. Every one of them except Manuela, who of course has her allegiance has gone to the Ineco Reporter Castle Ram team. Thomas Gostner accelerates, back end of the car, steps out, he controls it with the slide, but that will have cost him time, Nico.
Yeah, for sure. It wasn't the best lap that he had already until that point, so this lap certainly is not going to figure at the end of the session, but at least with 6.5 minutes remaining, he still has the chance to go again. Overall, we're not really seeing massive improvements, so Skrimpias just with a personal best through Sector 1. But at the same time, he is overtaken by Cristiano Maciel, who puts it on to P3. So potentially Zeus still needs to do something. He only really has to find half a tenth to move up from P4 to P2. So that is certainly within his capability. I have to say, as things stand, the Fabrizio Fontana time looks monumental. It would take a Herculean effort to overcome that, but if there is anyone who can do a Herculean effort, it's a Greek.
Aren't we coming out of the words today in their association with Greeks? Yes, well done. I bow to your command of language. My goodness me. Some people get paid for stuff like this, you know. 1:33.620. 1:34.297 is the fastest, second fastest time. That, of course, came from Christian Kinch much earlier on in the session. I'm just looking at the laps competed by various drivers. Fabrizio has thus far done 9 laps. Christian Kinch has done 8 laps. Zeus has done 8 right now. Who's done the most laps out there? Well, it is Oscar Rinčević at the moment.
As Christian Kinch has just filed out of pit lane, so with 5.5 minutes remaining, he feels like, well, you know, I've preserved the tires, I've bided my time. It's getting a little boring in the pit lane.
Yeah.
Let's see if I can do something about that Fabrizio Fontana time.
Yes, let's see if he can. And he will have been guided by Daniele Diamato, his driver coach, who said, you know what, I think we've got more in us. Come on, come on. So we will see. I mean, you know, Christian is more than capable of doing it, but you've got to do it immediately, Nico, because he's going to get 1 installation lap, 2 installation laps, 1 hot lap. That's all he's going to get, isn't it?
Yeah, and there is Manuela Gostner. You could see she really off the track there. That certainly means that both in terms of time and track limits, that won't be an improvement and graphic confirmation. So is Skrimpias, first sector, purple. Second sector, not quite as quick, but as we said, he only needs to find a few 100s to get from what is now P5 to P2. So this lap really bears watching. Traffic, however, might come into play here. Who is that in front of him? That's the Corinna Gostner car. But she is also pushing, so I don't think it will compromise this lap necessarily. There is the final turn for Fabrizio Fontana, I believe, is just coming to the pit lane. Or was it someone else? Zeus Skrimpias?
Well, Zeus Skrimpias crosses the line
And it's going up to P2, indeed.
So that's why, and it's wise then, therefore, that Christian Kinch is back out again. They could see the threat, the challenge was coming, forgive the pun. And Christian Kinch is back out there again. Second part of the installation lap is being done right now. So this is the final part of Ferrari Challenge Copa Shell qualifying. Here is Fons Skeltema then, the Netherlands-based driver who's been loyal to Kessel Racing for many, many years and loyal to the Ferrari Challenge for many, many years. He is at the moment not where he would like to be with regards to qualifying, and he's trying to find what he can to move up the order. 3 minutes remaining. Ferrari Challenge, we're live with Copa Shell qualifying 2. These are the qualifying sessions for our second races, which will happen tomorrow, Sunday, here at the Misano World Circuit. Marco Simoncelli, the front looking just a little bit skittish under braking for Fons Skeltema as he's back on the gas pedal again and giving it everything he can. What can Fons Skeltema do? A podium placer, of course, at Monza. A little bit of understeer going into that turn. You could actually see the steering angle of the car, and Fons is just pushing very hard. His sector times are not where he would like them to be. We've got 2.5 minutes remaining in this qualifying session. So the Shark's Teeth fronted car of Fons Skeltema into the stadium section of the Misano circuit. A very, very different circuit to that launched the challenge season this year for 2025 at the Temple of Speed in Monza. This altogether more technical, and Fons rounds the final turn now, gives it everything he can on the approach to the timing line. It was P11 for Fons Skeltema, and I'm afraid to say it remains P11 for Fons Skeltema. He can do one more lap, maybe two, depending actually on what this lap time is. It was that close. So in replay, Fons Skeltema then. The order is Fabrizio Fontana, Zoe Scrimpias, Christian Kinch, Cristiano Marchel. They are the front 2 rows of our shell grid at the moment as Christian Kinch came out to respond. Now, where is Christian on the track relative? And he will be able to go again. He'll get one more lap in addition to this lap. I rather think that this might be an installer for the next lap. It's going to be a 1-lap dash for cash for Christian Kinch, I think, to try and better his position on the grid. And there you can see his driver coach on the pit wall as we split the screen here, bringing you all the action we can from the Ferrari Challenge live from the Misano World Circuit. Marco Simoncelli. Christian Kinch then heads towards the timing line now. This is not, I don't think, going to improve his P3 place, but this lap is the one that could count for Christian Kinch. Is he going to be able to unseat Fabrizio Fontana? Fabrizio Fontana is in the pit lane. He can do no more. If his time of 1:33.620 does not get beaten by any other driver that's out there at the moment, then he retains that P1. However, there are a number of drivers out there that could wrestle it away from them. Thomas Gostner, well, he is Sector 1 and Sector 2. Not worthy of letter home yet. Car 177, lap time deleted, track limits in turn 15. That will be Fons Skeltema. The checkered flag comes out on the session now. So anyone that's still on a lap can continue the lap, but anyone that did not cross the timing line before the checkered flag comes out, including Thomas Gostner, he will not be able to go again. Zoe Scrimpias did cross the timing line in time, and he's making his way through Sector 1 and now into Sector 2, but I don't think Zoyce is on a trajectory of improvement. It's Zoe Scrimpias and Christian Kinch who are the two most likely candidates to perhaps unseat Fabrizio Fontana from that P1 position. So let's look at the cumulative time. He's 4.5 tenths down on where he needs to be. To find 4.5 tenths in the final sector, that's going to be a really big ask. Impossible? Of course it's not, but I do think it's going to be a big ask for Zoe Scrimpias to do. Christian Kinch, how is he doing? Well, I think Christian's just pulled into the pit lane, to be honest. Zoe Scrimpias is going to cross the timing line now. There is the checkered flag, and I think our order is done. Sure enough, Christian Kinch did come into the pit lane despite his valiant efforts to try and improve. An improvement wasn't there. We have our order for Copa Shell Race 2, and Stefano Guy to the right-hand side of your picture, who is the coach to Fabrizio Fontana. They have big emotions. Grande, which, of course, Italians all have big emotions. And Stefano Guy and Fabrizio Fontana have actually raced together. And as a driver and coach combo, they work so well together as well. We get an awesome replay here of the car then that sets pole position for race 2, which will come tomorrow. Race 1 still to come tonight. Very much looking forward to the races to come tonight from Trophio Pirelli and Trophio Pirelli Am. Also from Copa Shell Am, and of course from our Copa Shell drivers that we've just seen qualifying for their second race of the weekend. And the Formula Racing driver Fabrizio Fontana is the best of them all. We'll bring you full and confirmed classification of the way that the qualifying finished in just a moment as Zois Skrimpias makes his way back now to the pit lane. Again, valiant effort from Zois Skrimpias, but a very good qualifying from Zois. He starts on the front row. Front row will be Fabrizio Fontana and Zois Skrimpias. Then it will be Christian Kinch and Cristiano Marchel. They are the top 4 drivers and therefore occupy the front 2 rows of the Ferrari Challenge Copa Shell grid. Parked up now and inside the garage. And jumping out of the car is John Dillon. It's a P6 start from John Dillon. He can be a danger man from P3. I suspect he feels that there was more in him. He takes a look at the data up there. Yeah, John will always feel that he could always do better. He's very self-deprecating and always challenging himself. And he, of course, is a race winner, as is this man, Fabrizio Fontana. I told you he was quite emotional. Stefano choosing to keep his eyes away from the camera. Disappointment. Confirmation of the classification. Fabrizio Fontana from Zois Skrimpias. From Christian Kinch, Cristiano Marchel. Manuela Gosner, John Dillon. Then it was Motohiko Isasaki. Well done, Motohiko. Then it's Thomas Gosner, P8. P9, I think we'll find Oscar Lee Rinchevich. Then it's Tibor Valint and Fons Skeltermar, Corinna Gosner and Jan Sandman. Jan Sandman out of position. He's another danger man and could be one very much worth watching in the races to come this evening. From Nico and from myself, thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye for now.